All right, we're going to go ahead and start the meeting. So, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I'll lead us in the pledge in a moment of silence. And the other thing that we'll do is we'll welcome everybody to the meeting of the City Council. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic, whether it's on tonight's agenda or any issue that is important to you. Each person that wishes to speak should complete a speaker card and submit it ahead of time to the city clerk, or not ahead of time, whenever you can. After you have been recognized to speak, please use the microphone at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record. Please address all comments to the City Council rather than individual members. Direct all questions to this chair. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes. Now, if you'd stand for the pledge and a moment of silent meditation. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Rather than do a roll call, I think we just have Mr. McDowell that's out tonight. So if you want to document that for us. Everybody else is here. And first thing, you sure you don't want to announce it now?
Go ahead, Pat.
Pink. Notice we all have pink on. And it's Diana's idea, so she can tell us about it.
Yes, I want to hear about it.
I appreciate the city leadership and city council participating in wearing pink for Breast Cancer Month. That was it. I invited everybody at the last meeting. I appreciate the collaborative effort of pink. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's an idea.
Maybe we'll just.
I'll take it one month at a time, guys.
Okay. So then I think we have Brian coming up presenting Jacobs' annual client wastewater operations report for 23-24.
Honorable Mayor, members of council, thank you for allowing us to present our short presentation tonight. What you have in your packet is a long version, so if you have questions, we can answer those. To my right is Andy Roush, Regional Manager, and over here is my Supervisor of Maintenance. He'll be working that. Hopefully, if we have any questions, like I said, we can answer them at the end. This first slide indicates the flow of wastewater we had this past year compared to the year prior, the amount of counts that we've been serving, the reuse customers, and of course the percentage of the plant capacity as far as what it's designed to do and how many gallons we've passed through it. Next slide, Sherman. This slide right now is just the comparison between the incoming flows and, of course, the outgoing flows, the reuse, and then, of course, the rainwater that we receive throughout the year. You can see we're slowly increasing the amount of water going out in reuse. The only time you see a depreciation or a drop is due to the high rain events that we have no control over. Next slide, Sherman. This slide just represents the FP&L power curtailment program that the city participates in and the savings that we get each month. It's broken down to what the bill would have been to where the actual bill is, and of course the total savings for the last 12 months, and each of the month savings for the last 12 months is to the right. Next slide. This is us participating in sustainability. Jacobs is a big company, and we recently purchased 3 hybrid trucks, thus creating less of a carbon footprint. We're just trying to do our part as we work in this community. Next slide. I'll turn it over to Andy.
Sure. So Jacobs performs a lot of preventive maintenance throughout the year. That's our technicians touching, checking, reviewing equipment condition and operability. We can see on this graph that the vast majority of the maintenance work that's performed by the team is preventive maintenance, which is exactly what you want it to be. In fact, the standard at which the Jacobs team in West Melbourne operates is considerably higher than what the industry standard is, which is 70%. So I think that gives me, and I hope it gives you, a lot of comfort and confidence that the assets that you have that are part of your critical utility infrastructure are being maintained in a professional and a proactive way. And some of that preventive maintenance includes things like oil changes, filters, checking of volts and amps on electrical equipment. And we even had an associate from a different project within the region come up and perform some predictive analytics, which is vibration analysis, technology that allows us to predict where and how a piece of equipment is going to fail, so we can intervene at an earlier stage and have a less costly repair. And you can see more than 6,000 work orders performed over the year, so that's it's about 16 a day, which is a lot of good work by the team. So going to the next slide, a lot of interesting capital improvements and maintenance projects have occurred during the year that Jacobs has supported. Contractors have performed some of that work. Things like lift station rehabs, rehabilitations of manholes, rehabbing the belt filter press, which is a critical component of the wastewater treatment plant, are all things that have been accomplished during the last 12 months, along with some other repairs that you can see, photos on the slide. And so what's coming up, moving ahead onto the next slide, you know, Jacobs looks forward to assisting the city with blower line replacement. That's the critical pipe work that feeds the plant aeration basins to give the biological process the oxygen that it needs. Continuing to work with the city to rehabilitate various components of the utility infrastructure, and among other things on the slide, working to continue to update the GIS system and make sure that you have an accurate record of where your critical infrastructure is located. So with that, appreciate your time and our ability to give you a condensed version of what you have in your packets, and happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Do I hear an accent?
You certainly do.
And where is it from?
From Australia, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Frampus.
I'd just like to say
Krampus.
thank you for, you know, all the work you guys are doing, and I always hear good things, and anytime that we, from my community, call in and have a problem, I always get a call back, and I have a positive experience of my own. So just thanks for the work you do.
Thank you.
Ms. Young.
Thank you, Mayor. So during the hurricane, right after the hurricane, we read about these cities that have problems and things with overflows and things, and we usually do not. And that must be due to the 95% preventative maintenance that you guys are out there doing.
Certainly that's an element of it, as well as the operational proficiency that Brian and his team has to mitigate the impact to the plant, the way the process works with all of that extra inflow coming in. So yes.
Thank you very much for handling it. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
I don't have any more lights on, guys. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Maybe not.
Well, you should have brought one.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to go back just a little bit, and I'm going to make a motion to excuse Mr. McDowell from our meeting. So if I get a second on that, or I'll let you do it.
Me to run that?
Yes,
So
I make the motion.
do we have a second? Okay, thank you. So we have a motion for excusal by Mayor Bentley, a second by Councilmember Frampus. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Where is he?
Sorry?
He's on a vacation. He let us know in advance, so it's always good when they do that.
Understood. Thank you. All right, then motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. All right, now I think Christie's up next with future land use map amendment.
As you all may have read, we had to postpone the Planning and Zoning Board meeting that we were going to have. So that's been postponed till October 21st, which means that the item cannot come to you all until it's gone to them. Your next meeting is going to be November 19th. So that's what we're asking. We've done the letters to the surrounding property owners, and in a 500-foot ring, we let them know of the same dates. And I believe some of that may have been posted by neighbors on Nextdoor Neighbor, not sure. But we've only gotten a few calls. So with that, if you all could do the motion to table to date certain of November 19th, please.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this topic? Seeing none, Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to table the proposed Minton Grove small-scale map amendment to November 19th, 2024.
Mr. Frampus.
Second?
Seeing no other lights, we have a motion from Deputy Mayor Adams, a second from Mr. Frampus. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0. Moving on to the consent agenda. So I need a motion to approve the regular council meeting minutes of Tuesday, October 1st. Mr. Ditmore.
Make a motion to pass the consent agenda.
Ms. Foltz.
Second.
Let me just check the next page. So that's the only item there, right? So I have a motion from Mr. Ditmore, a second from Ms. Foltz. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0. All right, this is your chance once again, guys. This is a public forum. Anybody want to speak on any topic that's of interest to you? This is your chance.
Come on now.
Talk about yourselves.
Anything at all, just to say we had one. Seeing none, we'll close the public forum. Can't even pay people to talk. All right, moving on to the action agenda. Clements Woods Park Pavilion. Mr. Mark Petroni.
Good evening, Mayor, council members.
Good evening.
We are here to talk about the Clementswood Park Pavilion. We were able to finally get a hold of one gentleman that actually owns two companies. He's here local, which is Advanced Recreation Concepts and the Play Space Services. They were awarded a contract over Clay County Commissioners, which we were able to piggyback off both of them. And the total for both of those actually came in under budget for the fiscal aspect of it. We have our budget for next year, this year and next year, actually is $65,000. This came in just under $7,000. So based on all that, I'm here to recommend that you allow our city manager to execute contracts for the pavilion with Advanced Recreation Concepts LLC in the amount not to exceed $35,715.43, and also the contract for the installation with Play Space Services in the amount not to exceed $23,045 for the total of $58,760.43.
Thank you. Mr. Frampus.
You confused me a little bit, Mark. This year's budget or next year's budget that is 65,000?
This year's budget for 24-25 is 65,000.
So we're 7,000 under
Roughly.
6,300. Okay, I'll make a motion that, this is the same place that we talked about last meeting, right? And we,
No, last week was Westbrook Park, Play Equipment.
Right.
This is Clementswood Park
Which is off
Pavilion.
of Fell Road.
Is it the same company?
I do not believe so.
No.
No, from the Playscape.
okay, I'll make a motion that we approve this as written for $58,760.43.
Mr. Ditmore. Ms. Young.
I just have a question, please.
ahead.
So we recently put in new play equipment at Clements Woods, correct? And so I was just there just a very short time ago, and then there's a big empty space. That's where this roof is going to go?
Going to go just to the east side of the playground and new equipment.
Okay, and that's all we're getting for $65,000 is this big roof?
And a slab.
Oh, in a slab. We can't afford to put anything on the slab after
a slab.
this roof. Because that's the only picture I see is just the roof and the slab. Okay.
So it's just the pavilion, right? Just the pavilion?
No
The concrete.
tables.
And the concrete.
$58,000.
Yep.
And Mr. Ruddy, this is all in line with the parks team that we have looking at all this?
Yes, it's one of the items identified. So when we started the Clementswood Park process 3 years ago. So 3 years ago, we budgeted to redo the bathroom facility. So we did the men's, women's, and that structure. Budgeted last year for the play equipment, so we did the play equipment, and then budgeted this year for the pavilion.
Ms. Waltz?
Yes, I have a question. So we're not putting like picnic tables in there at all? There's nothing?
Just a pavilion.
Yeah, we'll be adding features, but this is just the construction of the pavilion itself and the concrete that goes with it, including the electric as well.
58,000.
They will be adding to it.
$58,760.43.
Yeah, I will say, it took a while to get to this point. If you saw some of the other numbers that were coming out, it was absolutely ridiculous. This, being able to piggyback and get the discounts from Clay County is really the only way this came under budget.
Oh, that's a real discount.
Yeah,
We got a real
actually-
deal on this
I'm
one.
always shocked, as Mr. Brody will tell you, when I see some numbers, but, yeah, it's just for the slab, the pavilion, there's footers, it has to be, built to the new codes too, which is what we're dealing with. So the footers on these to hold the columns down are almost 4 foot deep.
Wow,
They get pretty extreme, because it has to have the wind load for the new hurricane code.
that's pretty deep. Deputy Mayor Dr. Adams.
Thank you. In terms of the master plan, I know we're going to continue moving forward, looking at each of the parks and creating plans from there. But this continues to fall in line with the feedback we got from the consultants, correct?
Well, I'm not that familiar with the parks plan, because I'm the capital projects guy. I'll probably have to defer to Mr. Rhodey. I know I'm also going to probably eventually be bringing in the skate park pavilion, which I believe is also part of the whole concept, but I'll let him elaborate a little bit more.
I believe it was based on
Yeah,
feedback, but I wanted to check.
Yes, it is part of it, and it's been part of our, improvement to Clementswood with, starting with the bathrooms, then the play equipment, and now a rental pavilion that'll go right off the play equipment, so you're close to the bathrooms. And so it's all part of the plan for the park.
With the new pavilion going in, I know we've talked about pavilions at some of the other parks in terms of rental, and there was some discussion about doing that online for residents. If we move that route, then they have the option to pick from multiple parks, including the new Clementswood Pavilion.
Correct. Yeah, we're working on rec software, what I call rec software that'll allow people to do that online. So we're very close to implementing that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Now all we need is parking.
All right. So,
Next project.
yeah, we have a motion on the floor from Mr. Frampus, a second from Mr. Ditmore for the Clementswood Park Pavilion effort. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0. Moving to item B, vehicle replacement of 2 Public Works fleet vehicles. Mr. Piccarello.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. We're looking to replace 2 fleet vehicles in our water department. We're looking to replace them with we're looking to replace 2 F-150 pickups, which are 2004 vehicles. Each have over 100,000 miles. And so we're looking to replace them with a F-250 pickup, which is a little beefier, and we're looking to replace one with another utility body for the water department. The vehicles are coming off the sheriff's contract bids for purchase, so we're just looking to get your approval to move forward.
Mr. Ditmore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question. You just said Ford F-250s, but I'm looking at, am I looking at the wrong
Chevy, I'm
things?
sorry.
One.
Yeah.
Whoa. Whoa.
Price would go up.
So I just want to make a comment for those, because it came up in the last meeting. The 2500 is in a 3500. 2500 means it's a 3/4 ton capacity. The 3500 means it's a 1 ton capacity. That's for the bed area, basically, which means one has a 1,500 pound capacity, the other one has 2,000 pound capacity, and the HT means heavy duty. So that's all, that's the differences between those. Those are not bad prices. Those are actually pretty good, as I was in the market not too long ago. So with that, I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to award the contract to Garber Fleet Services, Chevrolet GMC, in the amount of $49,546 for the 2500 and $77,958 for the Silverado 3500.
Ms. Waltz.
I will second that, but that's basically $78,000 is a hard pill to swallow for a vehicle that, how long will it last us?
2004, last one,
Yeah, so
20 years.
then
20 years?
That's what they cost.
Yeah,
John?
okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Young?
Thank you again, Mayor. This is coming from the account that we put away for, that we pay cash for this.
Yep,
This
this
is that
is the
account.
vehicle replacement, and this was in the 24-25 budget.
Well, hold on.
Thank you. Just want to make sure.
Mr. Ditmore?
Question about that. I thought this is the water department, correct? It's not coming out of enterprise
We
fund?
also put it, we put the water into the vehicle
Oh,
replacement.
so enterprise fund.
From the water, yeah.
Enterprise funds. Okay, that's what I make sure.
Thank you. Seeing no more lights, I have a motion from Mr. Ditmore, a second from Ms. Volz. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0. Moving to item C, annual street resurfacing, paving methods. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
this is our annual yearly resurfacing of streets. We have a list of 12 streets that we're going to be doing this year. And obviously, we're going to be continuing with asphalt paving systems, which we've been using the last 8 years. This year, we're going to be piggybacking off the City of Kissimmee's contract for our pricing for the for this year's application of chip seal and micro seal. I'd like you to recommend to the City Council that to allow the city manager to award the contract to Asphalt Paving Systems Incorporated of the, off the Kissimmee contract, piggybacking off their contract in the amount of $549,911.65 for our 12 roads.
It's a lot of money. All right. Mr. Ditmore?
I'll make a motion to authorize city manager to award the contract to Asphalt Paving Systems for the amount of $549,911.65 for 12 city roads.
Someone's got to go for it. Ms. Young?
Second.
Otherwise, we're going to be here for a while. I have no additional lights on, so I have a motion from Mr. Ditmore. Excuse me?
It's at the front.
Oh, that was sneaky. Mr. Frampus?
Sorry, a little late.
No problem.
What did we spend last year?
Last year, I'm not sure. I think we were just under 5 or.
Yeah, we were a touch lower last year, but we typically try to budget somewhere between 475 and 550 for roads. This year we put a little bit more in just because we are redoing Melbourne Estates, both Stevenson and Bossier from our project.
Henry on this, is the list in here?
It's at the
Yes.
Missed the page.
There's a lot of pages in there.
Yeah,
in the front of the staff memo.
in the front?
Yeah.
I went right past it.
I'll find it.
Was Henry on there?
Again.
No.
No. Are we doing anything with Henry in the near future? There's a couple big potholes.
Henry needs to be a total redone, which would probably be over $1 million.
Halfway down the page.
Yeah, I just drove Henry tonight and realized that it is very bumpy going there.
Okay.
Yeah, Henry needs a full depth reclamation, which is
Expensive.
Serious money?
very expensive. So we're going to have to do that as a separate CIP, or I believe we were looking to get some.
Yeah, we budgeted some money to get the engineer scope of service to have the engineer start putting the plans together. So that's, I believe in our 5-year CIP, it's 3 years out. So this year will be engineering analysis. Next year we'll go to design, and then rebuild third year.
We can go 3 years on it, what you have now?
Well, I mean, we could patch, we could do different
I
things.
know that.
You know, to keep up with it, but
Not to go on a tangent, but there was a couple serious potholes there that needed to be looked at, so. I was-
we filled a bunch of them on Friday,
Okay,
so.
haven't been down there since, so thank you.
Deputy Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. There's some discussion, from my understanding, at the state level about particularly incorporating glass and plastics potentially into some sort of other microseal. If it, continues to go through legislation and gets passed, do we foresee that potentially being incorporated by these contractors on a relatively quick basis? Do you have any idea, just in
They've been
terms
using
of
plastic,
material?
they've been using glass, they've been using tires for years. That's nothing new. It's just it's just where you are, what type of material, what type of wear you're looking to get. So it's different applications for different locations too.
So there's no formula to it that would potentially expand our road?
No, actually, what they're trying to do now is the new thing is they're trying to put fiber in. So they're fiber material mixing in to hold and bond to avoid potholes and things like that. So that's the new generation that's starting now. VA Paving offers that also, but obviously it's expensive until everything gets worked out.
Is there a significant difference in age from what we have on the contract now to something like that?
No, I mean, it could be, again, when you mill and pave, obviously that's a lot more expensive. We can't get the quality or quantity we're looking for. Right now, the city of West Melbourne is 87% pavement condition index, which there's nobody around here that can match that. So we've been doing, a fantastic job. Unfortunately, Henry Ave is just one of those roads where it's a long road. It's going to be over $2 million to do that, just that road itself. So we just have to plan. We have to figure out what's going to be the best option to do that. So.
Thank you.
Ms. Young.
Thank you, Mayor. Heritage Oaks Boulevard, I know we did that not long ago. Couldn't be that long if I'm remembering. It couldn't be that long. And we got a lot of pushback from residents who were not happy when that was done at all. They weren't notified. There were things, if you go back in the minutes and read it, we had some upset residents. So can we try to do better this time and notify them?
That was a couple of years ago.
Oh, it was definitely a few years ago.
We haven't had that problem since.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so I have a motion from Mr. Ditmore, second from Ms. Young. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0. Item D, Ms. Curran.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Annual review of the city attorney's performance and contract extension.
Good evening to you, Mayor and City Council members. Our City Attorney, Mr. John Carey, was appointed as the City of West Melbourne City Attorney effective November 29 of 2022. As required by his employment agreement, the City Council is tasked with evaluating his performance each year. Evaluation responses were received from each council member and compiled into a summary document that is included with your staff report. Mr. Carey's overall score averaged a 3.75 out of 5 points, which generally meets performance standards. A motion to accept the summary document is requested. Thereafter, if the City Council chooses, may discuss Mr. Carey's performance, salary increase if desired, and/or contract extension.
That's all you're presenting?
So far.
Okay. Mr. Frampus.
Evaluation itself.
I'll make a motion that we accept the evaluation as presented. And I'll also, you talked about the other stuff too. You want me to do that now?
After this.
We're going to vote on this first, I think.
The acceptance of the
Yes.
evaluation.
Okay.
Ms. Adams.
I will second the motion.
All right, so we have a motion to accept the performance review of our city attorney from Mr. Frampus, a second from Ms. Adams. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Seeing none, passes 6-0.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm just going to scoot over here for a minute.
All right, thank you.
And very similar to what I did with our city manager. So I prepared a very similar PowerPoint presentation for you. This here is historical information, and this was part of your staff report. So this is Mr. Carey's appointment on November 29 of 2022. His 6 months was 5/29/2023. At that time, the 6-month performance evaluation was a 3.33, and his salary remained the same. November 29, 2023 was the 1-year evaluation mark. At that time, his evaluation score was a 3.13, and he received an increase to $156,940 for his salary. The second year, 11/29/2024, we're actually a little bit early, but this evaluation score was a 3.75. The current minimum pay range for this, his pay grade is 147,707. The midpoint of the pay range is 188,327, and the maximum of the pay range is 228,946, and that pay plan was implemented on 10/1 of 2024. So this slide is based off of the documentation that I provided with the staff report, where it listed the 19 different municipalities. So this position is a little unique. Not all municipalities have an in-house city attorney. A lot of municipalities contract out. In fact, in our county, there are only 4 municipalities that have in-house city attorneys. Because of that, I went on the hunt to see what I could find statewide, did a search on the Florida Bar website, try to find any government municipalities. After that search, reached out to the human resource directors via email to get the salary and length of experience for those city attorneys that they had. So if we look on the right-hand side, filtered by annual population, what I did is I chose a range of population, ours at about 30,000, so 15 below and 15 above, so the range of 15,000 to 45,000 in population. And so on the right-hand side, you'll see from St. Augustine to Ormond Beach, and those were the cities that I used. To include us, that's 9 cities, but 8 other municipalities. And the city of West Melbourne falls just about in the middle of that at 30,443 for population, an annual salary of $156,940. On the left-hand side, as I did with the city manager, I gave a comparison of filtering the population, but by salary this time. So in this graph, the city manager, the pay range, or the current salary, is from the lowest to the highest. And at this place, our city attorney is the second lowest paid of those municipalities. The light blue are the municipalities that I'm using for comparison, and the ones in the darker gray are the other municipalities, Titusville, Melbourne, Palm Bay. They're in our county, but that was the closest that I could compare to for our county. Again, like the city manager, I did not compare the other information, so I'm not looking at municipal services, operating budgets, levels of management, legal staff, any kind of benefits, the cost of living for these municipalities, because they are scattered throughout the state. So in consideration of a possible salary increase and or extension of his contract, we're looking at his positive performance has increased. Mr. Carey has over 15 years of government experience starting in 2009. If we look at the pay range is based on a 30-year trajectory. At midpoint is a 15 years comparison. So midpoint is 188,327 on our pay range. If I took a look at all the municipalities that I compared, and that was 19 different municipalities, the average of all those salaries is 214,435. But the average of the 8, what I'm calling like cities, that were in the light blue, they are 187,022. That is the average salary. So in this, I am looking at the possibility of a salary adjustment, consideration by the City Council, as well as a contract extension. So the salary adjustment acknowledged Mr. Carey's experience and aligned with compensation trends in comparable cities. And contract extension aligns with institutional knowledge of local laws, his experience in legal issues, continuity and representation, expertise in litigation strategies, performance, stability, confidence, inability, and encouraging loyalty. So that is my presentation as far as this.
Mr. Frampus.
Can you tell me what the average raise was for the regular city employee?
On average, it was 7%, included a 2.5% COLA.
Did you say including?
That included a 2.5%.
And why did we start going to talk about contract extensions a year before the contract is up? We've never done that before. We started it with Mr. Rohde. I thought that was extraordinary circumstances since we had some projects going on, and you know, his performance evaluation was pretty high. Why are we starting that now? And I mean, we have a year left on this contract.
So to be consistent, I brought it back up again, but with
We weren't
this.
consistent when we changed it the last
Correct.
time, so I was.
So that was one of the things that Mr. Rohde had asked for, because we had some very large projects going on. We had the water plant that's coming in, the master plan, parks master plan. So we have several large projects, and for continuity.
I'm not in favor of it, first of all, so.
I was just being consistent in the same request.
I think based on the performance evaluation of just above average, and to be fair with all our employees that we have, I'll recommend the 7% increase in salary. And I think we need to defer the contract negotiation for when it gets closer to the end of the contract. Thank you.
That was not a motion, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was a motion, okay.
I'm sorry.
I probably missed it. All right, so I have a motion. Ms. Foltz.
No, I'm not going to second the motion, but,
Well, then I have to have a second before you get to talk.
okay.
Mr. Ditmore.
All right, I'll second with a comment.
All right, thank you.
Am I up or? Ms. Foltz?
No. Ms. Foltz.
I was just looking at the 4 cities that are here in Brevard County, which is Melbourne, Palm Bay, Titusville, and West Melbourne. And 3 of those cities have, their city attorney has 15 years, over 15 years experience, except for 1, and that was Titusville, and they've got over 20. One, the city of Melbourne attorney was just hired in 2024, and they make $227,000. I know they're bigger than us. And Palm Bay, of course, is also bigger than us, and they make a whole lot more. Titusville makes less than the other 2, and I know that 7% is what the regular employees make. But I have to say that with the city attorney and the city manager, they never know whether or not they're going to be able to keep their jobs, because of us, of course. So I think 7% is just too small. That's just my thoughts.
That's it? Thank you. I do want to ask the city attorney a question. Since he seconded the motion, should I have let him talk before Ms. Foltz? I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Or does it matter? Or?
No, I think you need to get the second on the floor, and then you can address the comments in whatever order you want.
Okay, I just want to know if there was a formal way of, you have to let the person that seconded it go next. All right, So any other people want to speak on this issue? Besides Mr. Ditmore. All right, Mr. Ditmore, you're next. You're it. I'm sorry. Almost undid you, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, Mr. Frampus touched on a point I was going to bring as far as the contracts. In the past, we always waited, a few months out. I don't recall exactly what it was, but we never really did it. This is really a midterm extension or renewal, basically. We never done that, and I do understand the reasoning behind what your thought process was, but I think for the city manager, there's 2 points I want to bring up. Obviously, I don't remember his exact evaluation numbers, but they were extreme. They were a lot higher. And also with the projects that we have in place, and I think I brought this up at the last meeting when we discussed this, his raise was the amount of projects that were actually going on and how it was important to make sure we were compensating and also keeping them around. My concerns are is if we look at the 3.75 is not, it's and I think my peers here will remember that's one of the lowest ratings we've had for an attorney on the dais over the last couple of years. In the prior, since I've been here a little over 6.5 years, the ratings were usually consistently higher. Normally, I would say 7% would be low, but considering all of us, we're sort of all kind of fell in the mid-3 range is what it looks like, it seems like, across the board. So that wouldn't be really consistent when giving someone an extraordinary raise. If you're extraordinary, you're coming across 4 or 4.5, something in that range, and maybe closer to 5. And we have done that in the past to bring people up. I think Mr. Carey, in my opinion, and I've evaluated people for years, it just has a little bit more growing to do here, and I think he would be good at some point, but he is just not there yet to justify a raise in excess of what we have given the other city employees. It is average, and that mid-3 range is probably one of the lowest that we've seen since I've been on council. So it's not consistent with what we've seen in the past. So that, and I think it would be best for the council oncoming, because there could be 3 to 4 new council members here in the next few weeks, and I think they should have that opportunity to evaluate and decide if they want to extend the city city attorney's contract. I think that's be important. So. But also at this point, I'll go ahead and agree with this moving forward. I think the 7% it's an average. And I want to say, Mr. Rode, that 7% for the city employees, that was the medium range. Some made more, some made less. Is that correct?
Sorry. Correct. That was the average. There were employees above and employees below.
So we're not. It's not the low point. It's not the high point. It's average, and I think that's consistent with the evaluation marks that we all seem to have consistent upon. I think that's average. Okay. Thank you,
Ms. Young.
Thank you, Mayor. So the 7% brings him just a shade under 168. That's nothing to sneeze at. I think that's very fair. I'll support that. I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. I think that's a nice, healthy raise, 7%. Thank you. I'll support this.
I'm just curious, what was the midpoint again?
Midpoint is 188,327.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the logic of looking at, a contract extension now versus a contract consideration potentially closer to when this contract is up. So that makes sense to me. In terms of an increase, I think with his score being a 3.75, which comes out slightly above average, I think it makes sense to have, if our employees have an average of 7% increase, I think that makes sense. I think that's fair. Similar in my discussion, bringing it up on the dais when we discussed the city manager's raise. Personally, I think my personal feeling is you keep your leadership at about the same increase if it's reasonable with city employees. And I think if that's the average of our city employee, I think that's a way of keeping it fair just across the board. But I think I would personally feel that way if he had a 3.75 or potentially even a 4, because we have great city employees that all have, we have some that make a higher raise than the 7%. We have some that fell below that point. But generally, to me, that somewhere between that 3 and 4 average range tells me you're doing a good job. There are still areas to grow, but I think that 7% is fair. Thank you.
Mr. Frampus.
And I just wanted to remind everybody, I know you want to compare from other cities, but this is a performance raise, and we're judging this on performance. We don't know how these other attorneys are performing at these other cities. We don't know what their staff load is. There's a lot we don't know, as was pointed out to us. So, we have to base this on how we rated them and the performance of that. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
No, I agree.
Seeing no further lights on, we have a motion from Mr. Frampus, a second from Mr. Detmore. All in favor say of a 7% pay raise and not doing the contract extension at this time. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Seeing none, it passes 6-0. Thank you. Which moves us to City Council reports. Ms. Fultz.
If I'm not mistaken, John, this is your last meeting, is it not? It's your last meeting.
Finally.
Well, I
Meant it with all my heart. No.
yeah, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I really appreciated working with you. That was all.
Oh.
We will have, the sitting council will be at our next meeting, and we'll gavel the meeting in.
Ms. Young.
No report.
Deputy Mayor Dr. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things to note. The legislative policy meetings for Florida League of Cities met since our last meeting. If you weren't able to attend, but you did sign up for a committee, we still have 2 more meetings to set legislative priorities. I did meet with Mr. Rohde, and we were able to create a list of priorities based on West Melbourne goals to forward through the Space Coast League to then get up to the state. So just looping everybody in on that. We will have those priorities after the legislative policy conference in early December. So once those come out, I'll be sharing those with you. Quick shout out to our public works and our great staff who showed up for the sandbag distribution before the storm. It was raining on and off. There were tons of cars, but it was a great, it was run really well by the police department in terms of traffic. But I heard from quite a few residents that they were just really appreciative of how quick and efficient everything was, especially when we compare to the multi-hour wait at the county level. So that was just, Chief, great job in terms of our PD, but city staff did an exceptional job with that. Quick other things to share with you. If you haven't been on Wingate Boulevard in the last couple days, we had discussed in terms of crosswalk safety. I brought up some ideas, and one of them now is in off of Wingate. So if you go by there, you'll see it's a bright blue color. It's really eye-catching, hopefully going to increase the awareness of our students walking to school, especially on that Wingate area. My understanding is that's a pilot for us, and if it continues to go well and be, I don't know how we're measuring if it's efficient, but I'd like, if that goes well, I'd like to see us continue with that.
Yeah, we'd like to do that up and use most of Wingate's intersections to do that with. We put the first one in to just test it.
Is that crosswalks?
It's just crosswalk art to try to calm. It's a calming measure to try to get people to slow down, especially during times with kids. So we put it in. It held up on the first rain really well, which we thought it would, but obviously we'll keep our eye on it for the next couple of weeks and see if it has any kind of other wear or any other issues, and then roll it out up and down Wingate.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I was going to say the school bus stop, there's a school bus stop at Wyeth, and the kids come across the street all the time when they get off the school bus, and then they lollygag around, and then they end up crossing there. So I was hoping that you were going to say you were going to do it there. Thank you.
The Space Coast Health Foundation, in the last 2 days, has put out their community health needs assessment. It's a way of kind of capturing community-wide what the health needs are of our community. So that include, transportation to doctor's visits. That can include mental health and all of the health that gets encompassed in that. They use that data, and it's funded every 3 years to determine what things they need to advocate for at the state level, any sort of policy change, ways to kind of address our community needs on a realistic level for our residents. So I don't know if it had the rest of council support. I was kind of looking for it to maybe include in, a Friday update that goes out to our residents, something like that. I just thought it'd be a good way to continue to get information that would be beneficial. I know it's not something that necessarily our council takes action on, but I think it's beneficial to Brevard County as a whole, so I wanted to share that. And then the last thing was in the same vein of surveying and taking action. I had shared with Mr. Rohde an idea of potentially this year, because I'm ambitious, but maybe next year if we're not, doing a sort of community annual survey to get data from our residents on their understanding of the city, their engagement with the city. Because I had asked about Clements Wood, and do we know one park versus another park, how many residents are coming, how often they use it, what that usage looks like. We have these programs that we offer at our parks. We have programs that we offer elsewhere. We don't necessarily have data that's tracking if people are using it, how many people are residents of our city versus not. So I just thought things like that would be good to get feedback from our residents. The flip side to that is, and he did bring it up in our meeting, if you go out for information, you've got to be willing to take action based on that information. But I think that's doable, and I think it's something that council could do. But I think if you include it regularly, either on the website towards the end of the year, you put it out in the newsletter, you reach your residents, we have a regular data collection that tells us, generally, are our residents using the things we offer to them as a city? We don't have any other sort of metric for that, from my understanding, so it was just an idea I wanted to bring up.
Is that a survey you can add on the website and just
Yes.
put it in there?
I mean, to me, it makes
Surveys
sense.
on our website? I don't know if we do or not.
We've done the parks one for the Parks Master Plan.
So it's just a link to a survey?
You'd have to create one. I know that there are survey companies that you can pay and go that route if you want to do it more formally. I told him in our meeting, I'm more than happy to put boots on the ground and just continue, if we, man the parks, or if we stand by the West Melbourne Library, how many residents come in and out of those areas on a daily basis. I think we can get a good portion of our community.
There you go, volunteering again.
I told him I'd be happy to do it if it saved us money from going to a professional route, but I did want to get some sort of feedback from the rest of council on if that's something we'd be open to.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, that's my report.
Mr. Ditmore.
Since this is my last chance to speak, we've got about an hour or so. Anyways, I was going to cover a couple things, and then I'm going to probably do my little exit thing here because I'm not going to talk much. I'm not going to talk at the next council meeting, obviously. Just want to bring up that information has been passed on to me that the county commissioners have given their staff direction to come back for the fire services fees to be looking for ways to raise it. And what they're going to be doing is basically at some point, what the problem the new commission sets is they're going to be bringing that before them, and they're looking to substantially raise these fees to cover some of their expenses. They did indicate at some time when they looked at this several years ago that they wouldn't be doing that again for several more years. And apparently their definition of several and our definition of several are different because they're coming back at us again. Even though they built a COLA into this, they're going to be raising this even on top of the COLA. So that's going to continue to do. I will tell you, if that happens, you will probably see a citizens initiative to put this on the ballot for the fire department. There will be some initiative to move forward and do that. If the city council, the new city council, does not take it up and they do raise those fees, there will be some type of initiative at that point. So I just wanted to bring that up. Second part?
Can I ask you a question? They already tried to bring it up to the council, right? I mean, or the.
Yeah, the commission, they brought up at the commission and they, no, they sent.
Address it before the election?
No, they directed staff to bring them back. No, not even after. They're bringing something back even prior to that. I don't know if it's going to get traction, but obviously they're going to be doing the research on it ahead of time. So, all right. So, and I just wanted to just close out and thank everyone, thank staff. I've worked with everybody from the different city managers, city attorneys across the board. You know, I'm not the easiest person to work with. As our staff, but you know, but I've always had that desire to actually serve the public. You know, when I got encouraged to do this by our prior mayor several years ago, I did it reluctantly at first because it's not something I wanted to do in my retirement years, was to actually come back and do these things. Because after working for a municipality for all those years, you know, and putting my time in for public service, it was kind of a tough decision. But I thought I'd go into this and embrace it and do the best I could. And I will tell you, regardless what anyone says or thinks, that every decision I made was made with the benefit for the public, for the people who live in this community, and to make those people's lives better. And I would encourage those who are looking to come in here to do the same, to put the service above self and do what you can for the public, not for political parties, not for political favors. Do what's right for the community going forward. I think you'll find that it's very rewarding at the end of the day, and that I have no regrets. I've always tried to do what's the right thing to do. Sometimes it's probably been to my detriment, but and I'll continue to try to do the right thing moving forward. So I want to thank all of you for the opportunity to work with everyone, and it has been my pleasure. And I look forward to speaking with you guys off and on over the next few years, and as things come and go. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
Mr. Frampus.
So I don't have a report, but I'd just like to say thanks, John, for your service. You're a big reason on why I got on council. You encouraged that, and I know everybody knows we're friends, but we butted our heads together several times up here on council, and I think it made for good discussion, and that's what we should be doing. We need to, you know, get a consensus in the end, and that's what we do. You have people with different opinions, and at the end we make a good decision. So, and I think that's what we do up here on council, especially in West Melbourne. And thanks, man. Thank you.
All right, I think I'm last up here. So, Ms. Volz, did you have your light on? No. It's on here, so it's okay though. I just won't call on you. You know, we've worked together a long time, and, you know, you're a Navy, I'm Marine Corps, and we've bantered a little bit back and forth, but I have really enjoyed both you and Dan on the council, and thought we don't always agree on issues, fire department being one of them, but we were always respectful, always got along, and I think we both just honestly had different feelings. But I've had a blast with you guys, you know, both you and Dan, and some of the events that we've been to, and your families, you know, your wife, Cindy. So, you know, from the heart, I really have enjoyed the years that we've spent together doing this, and it was a great ride, so thank you for that. Thank you. Now we have management reports.
All right. Coming off the hurricane, we are back into Heritage Days mode. So Thursday night, we will be having our annual Heritage Days down at the beautiful West Melbourne Community Park. If you'd like to wear your shirts, you can. You don't have to if you don't want to. But and if you are interested in volunteering in any particular area, let us know. We are doing a little bit over 1,000 hot dogs, bags of chips, and water as the food giveaway. And so we do need help giving out the food again. But certainly understand if you know, if you're not able to commit for the whole time. So please let us know, but very excited. All the plans are in place, and looking forward to a great night. Right now, We are looking very blessed with weather for the evening, so it should be just a great event, and absolutely appreciate all the hard work that the staff's put into to the Heritage Days planning. Yard debris. So this afternoon we were able to lock down a contract with a private hauler to start picking up clam pile yard debris pickup. That starts tomorrow morning. They're going to be working 10-hour days. And they're going to start on the south part of the community and work their way north. Again, pick south to work north just simply because there are some larger trees with some of the older communities on the northern end of the community, and just wanted to give them a little bit more time to make sure they can get all their stuff put out so that we can pick that up. It was very challenging, and it continues to be challenging to get contractors. The West Coast was pounded, and other parts of the country are still in cleanup mode, and so contractors go where the most stuff is because they get paid by the pound. So it was lucky that we were able to get our a local contractor with their equipment to jump on West Melbourne and get us taken care of before they head out of town. So we're very appreciative of that. And last but not least, big kudos to City of West Melbourne staff. Chief did a great job, put up the EOC, had the police department in and ready in responding to hurricane issues and tornado issues for a little bit. Thankfully, the tornadoes decided to pick up and not hit here. Big kudos to Mark Picarillo and his team down at Public Works. Again, they stayed down there and dealt with the issues as they came up, handled them very well. And so big kudos to Tom Bradford, who also helped hold down the technology and the communication side during the event. So great team effort. I prefer not to sleep on a cot in my office anymore this year, so hopefully we avoid any more storms for the rest of the year, but all in all fared very well. Now is the joy of the paperwork, and the paperwork is intense, and so we will start the paperwork process with FEMA and work on reimbursement. We did have a little bit of damage to some city property that we'll be claiming, and also several properties in town were damaged with some trees that fortunately fell in the wrong direction, fell on some houses. So, but all in all, Hurricane Milton was very kind to us.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. The contractor that's coming in to take care of the city in kind of that one pass-through, what's the price of that contract?
So the contract's probably going to run, I think last time we did this, it was somewhere around $14,000.
And that also gets submitted for
And it's FEMA eligible.
Okay. I just want
When we will get paid from FEMA, we are still working on the hurricane from 7 years ago on payment. So, you know, and FEMA does a great job. It's a challenging on their end, but we don't budget for when we're going to get paid back by FEMA. Those are costs that we incur. We almost always get paid back the majority of the items from FEMA. It just takes a very long time to get those payments.
Understood. Thank you.
Wow.
Mr. Frampus.
Mr. Rhodey, I just want to let you know that even though with the short notice, our community is getting done tomorrow, and our community appreciates that the city went through the effort and is, getting the debris out. And I know they're going to Mr. Ditmore's community after that, and we got the word out, and
it's coming fast.
Hopefully they get the yard waste out as well. And I think we would all be remiss if we didn't also thank you for the efforts you put in during the hurricane. I know you didn't mention yourself, but you were there all night as well, and we appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate that, but just a phenomenal team effort, and the chief has now been through a hurricane officially as the chief of West Melbourne. So,
Mr. Reddy.
That's not a real hurricane.
It was a good run-through. It was a good run-through. Thankfully, no damage.
When will you be doing the north side? Is that still this week? It's just last, I don't care when, I just want to know what to tell people.
Yeah, this is the part that gets challenging, trying to time areas. So they're going to start on the south part of the community and work their way north.
Let them know that it starts tomorrow.
Yeah,
about a week.
we reached out because, tomorrow's quick. Tomorrow's coming quick. But, certainly, they anticipate running through the entire community, in probably 4 to 5 days.
Okay.
But part of that is dependent on equipment and operators, and
It's a good period.
just like the garbage truck, it's got a route, but when it blows a hose or when it blows a hydraulic line or when it has a issue, you're at the mercy of equipment, and so.
That's a good timeline. Thank you. Ms. Young.
For clarification, this is for clam truck pickup only, not Big Bertha brown lid.
Correct. The waste management is continuing and has done a great job picking up yard waste out of the yard carts, and that is always the best and fastest way to get rid of debris. Yard debris is with the yard carts, but this is the any piles that wouldn't fit in your yard cart, they'll be coming by to get starting tomorrow morning.
All right, thank you. Tomorrow morning, thank you.
Adjourned.
Oh, look at that. Record. Well, not a record.